Good morning. Afternoon. I slept in this morning. I'm so sorry. Just kidding. The hour of convening has arrived, and the Senate will come to order. At this time, I'd like to ask that all unauthorized persons exit the chamber. My apologies to the senator from the 53rd for being late. I know you've been sitting there for 16 minutes, so I apologize. The chair recognizes you.
Mr. President, it's a beautiful day at our state capitol, and we're here ready to work for our people. A couple of moments and days in history. The senator from the 21st told me that this is the first patent for artificial teeth. It was granted on this date in 1822. And also a special figure for the senator of the 7th. In 1959, Barbie makes her debut. And the senator from the 7th been playing with her ever since. The journal's been read and found to be correct, Mr. President.
Which senator did you highlight as a Barbie fan?
7th.
7th. I have lots of jokes to make, none which will be appropriate. Is there objection to dispensing with the reading of the journal? The chair hears none, and the reading of the journal is dispensed with. Is there objection to the confirmation of the journal? Chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. All senators who have bills or resolutions, please bring them to the Secretary's desk at this time. Mr. Secretary, first reading of Senate bills and resolutions, please.
Senate Bill 284 by Senator Sims of the 12th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act to create a Board of Elections and Registration for Randolph County and to provide for its powers and duties, approved May 3rd,
State and local government.
Senate Bill 285 by Senator Jones of the 10th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act creating the Henry County Water Authority, approved March 28th, 1961.
State and local government.
Senate Bill 286 by Senator Jones of the 10th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act amending and restating an act known as
State and local government.
Senate Bill 287 by Senators Payne of the 54th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act providing a new charter for the city of Eaton.
State and local government.
Senate Resolution 203 by Senators Rahman of the 5th and others, a resolution creating the Senate Outdoor Learning Study Committee.
Rules.
Senate Resolution 204 by Senator Anna Vitarte of the 31st and others, a resolution urging the State Board of Education through the state school superintendent.
Education and youth.
Senate Resolution 205 by Senator Thompson of the 14th and others, a resolution recognizing Dr. Austin Flint and dedicating.
Transportation.
This completes the order, Mr. President.
I'll let you catch your breath for a moment for first reading of House bills and resolutions. This list is lengthy.
House Bill 76 by Representatives Carson of the 46th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 46 of the OCGA relating to public utilities and public transportation so as to modify the percentage.
Regulated industries.
House Bill 109 by Representatives Clark of the 147th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to provide greater protections for individuals who have suffered from childhood sexual abuse.
Judiciary.
House Bill 114 by Representative Reeves of the 34th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 7 of Title 48 of the OCGA.
Finance.
House Bill 117 by Representatives Wilinski of the 79th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 31-2A-18 of the OCGA relating to the low THC.
Health and Human Services.
House Bill 138 by Representatives Maynor of the 56th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 7 of Title 44 of the OCGA relating to landlord and tenant in general so as to provide.
Agriculture.
House Bill 160 by
Affairs.
Representatives Body of the 62nd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 4 of Chapter 8 of Title 48 of the OCGA relating to water and sewer projects and cost tax so as to redefine the term municipality.
Finance.
House Bill 173 by Representatives Benton of the 31st and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 47-20-87 of the OCGA relating to eligible large retirement systems authorized.
Retirement.
House Bill 194 by Representative Sands of the 180th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 10 of Title 17 of the OCGA relating to procedure for sentencing and imposition of punishment.
Judiciary.
House Bill 231 by Representatives Gaines of the 117th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 7 of Chapter 5 of Title 16 and Article 1 of Chapter 13 of Title 19 of the OCGA relating to stalking and granting of relief by
Judiciary.
House Bill 236 by Representatives Neal of the 74th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 13 of Title 19 of the OCGA relating to granting of relief by
Public safety.
House Bill 247 by Representatives Carson of the 46th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 6 of Title 40 of the OCGA relating to uniform rules of the road as to
Public safety.
House Bill 255 by Representatives Holcomb of the 81st and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 24 of Title 15 of the OCGA relating to sexual assault protocol so as to require certain...
Public safety.
House Bill 258 by Representative Sands of the 180th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 6 of Title 16 of the OCGA relating to sexual offenses so as to provide a response...
Judiciary.
House Bill 272 by Representatives Ballinger of the 23rd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 11 of Title 15 of the OCGA relating to the Juvenile Code so as to change...
Judiciary.
House Bill 290 by Representative Setzler of the 35th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 7 of Title 31 of the OCGA relating to regulation
Health
of...
and Human Services.
House Bill 291 by Representatives Dempsey of the 13th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 20-3-411 of the OCGA relating to definitions regarding tuition equalization grants at
Higher
private...
education.
House Bill 317 by Representative Stevens of the 164th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 3 of Chapter 13 of Title 48 of the OCGA relating to excise tax on rooms, lodging, and...
Finance.
House Bill 327 by Representatives Montahan of the 17th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to prevent organized retail crime to amend Chapter 1 of Title 10 of the OCGA relating to selling and other trade practices so as to provide for definition...
Judiciary.
House Bill 343 by Representatives Rhodes of the 120th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 27-3-1 of the OCGA relating to requirement of permission to hunt on lands of another...
Natural resources.
House Bill 346 by Representatives LaRica of the 169th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 3 of Chapter 11 of Title 31 of the OCGA relating to emergency medical services...
Health and Human Services.
House Bill 383 by Representatives Carson of the 47th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 1 of Article 3 of Chapter 5 of Title 50 of the OCGA relating to general authority, duties, and procedure relative to state...
Government oversight.
House Bill 411 by Representatives Gullett of the 19th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 18 of Title 15 of the OCGA relating to general provisions regarding...
Judiciary.
House Bill 428 by Representatives Martin of the 49th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 8 of Title 48 of the OCGA relating to sales and use taxes so as to change...
Finance.
House Bill 435 by Representatives Anderson of the 10th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 91 of Title 36 of the OCGA relating to contracting and binding requirements...
Government oversight.
House Bill 454 by Representatives Newton of the 123rd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 33-20C-2 of the OCGA relating to online provider directories so as to provide for a certain...
Insurance and labor.
House Bill 464 by Representative Scoggins of the 14th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 29 of the OCGA relating to guardian and ward so as to provide for when a petition for the appointment of a...
Judiciary.
House Bill 465 by Representatives Gullett of the 19th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 60 of Title 36 of the OCGA relating to general provisions applicable to counties and municipal corporations.
Government oversight.
House Bill 469 by Representative Stevens of the 164th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 2, Chapter 7 of Title 48 of the OCGA relating to the imposition, rate, and computation and exemptions from state income
Finance.
taxes. House Bill 479 by Representatives Reeves of the 34th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 17 of the OCGA relating to criminal procedure so as to revise certain arrest powers to provide for arrest by law enforcement
Judiciary.
House Bill 495 by Representatives Crowe of the 110th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 3 of Title 35 and Article 2 of Chapter 1 of Title 42 of the OCGA relating to general provisions regarding the Georgia Bureau of
Public safety.
House Bill 498 by Representatives Watson of the 172nd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 1 of Article 2 of Chapter 5 of Title 48 of the OCGA relating to property tax exemption so as to expand...
Finance.
House Bill 517 by Representatives Carson of the 46th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 2A of Title 20 of the OCGA relating to student scholarship organizations so as to provide...
Finance.
House Bill 532 by Representatives Kaiser of the 157th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 34 of the OCGA relating to labor and industrial relations so as to change certain provisions...
Insurance and labor.
House Bill 534 by Representatives Bonner of the 72nd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 11 of Title 16 of the OCGA relating to offenses against public order so as to provide for the offense...
Judiciary.
House Bill 544 by Representatives Powell of the 32nd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 27 of Title 50 of the OCGA relating to lottery for education so as to change...
Regulated industries.
House Bill 562 by Representatives Carpenter of the 4th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 3 of Chapter 4 of Title 17 of the OCGA relating to warrants for arrest so as to add DFCS case manager...
Judiciary.
House Bill 563 D7 by Representatives Cooper of the 43rd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 12 of Title 31 of the OCGA relating to control of hazardous conditions, preventable diseases, and medical...
Health and Human Services.
House Bill 575 by Representatives Dickey of the 140th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 48-5-7.4 relating to bona fide conservation use property residential...
Finance.
House Bill 579 by Representatives Oliver of the 82nd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 75 of Title 36 of the OCGA relating to war on terrorism, local assistance, such as change the sort of
Public
title.
Safety.
House Bill 582 by Representatives Ballinger of the 23rd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to provide that future elections for the office of appropriate
State
judge.
and local government.
House Bill 611 by Representatives Chokas of the 138th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 3 of Article 3 of Chapter 5 of Title 50 of the OCGA relating to small business assistance.
Finance.
House Bill 617 by Representatives Martin of the 49th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 3 of Title 20 of the OCGA relating to post-secondary education so as to provide that student
Higher
athletes...
education.
House Bill 619 by Representative Houston of the 170th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 2 of Article 3 of Chapter 3 of Title 12 of the OCGA relating to the Heritage Trust Program so as to authorize the sale
Government
of...
oversight.
House Bill 631 by Representatives Chokas of the 138th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 35-3-33 of the OCGA relating to powers and duties of the Georgia Crime...
Public Safety.
House Bill 653 by Representatives Jaspers of the 11th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 26-4-5 of the OCGA relating to definitions relative to the...
Health and Human Services.
House Bill 676 by Representatives Houston of the 170th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title II of the OCGA relating to agriculture so as to create the Georgia Farmers Market.
Agriculture and Consumer Affairs.
House Bill 680 by Representatives Green of the 151st, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act creating the Board of Commissioners of Stewart County, approved April 4th, 1996.
State and local government.
House Bill 681 by Representatives Yurda of the 152nd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 2 of Article 6 of Chapter 2 of Title 20 of the OCGA relating to competencies and core curriculum relative to quality basic education.
Education and youth.
House Bill 693 by Representatives Meeks of the 178th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 1B of Article 13 of Chapter 6 of Title 40 of the OCGA relating to operation of farm use vehicles so as to...
Agriculture and Consumer Affairs.
House Bill 697 by Representatives Newton of the 123rd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 12, Chapter 7 of Title 31 of the OCGA relating to healthcare data collection so as to require hospitals to participate.
Health and Human Services.
House Bill 714 by Representative Kelly of the 16th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 8 of Chapter 11 of Title 9 of the OCGA relating to provisional and final remedies and special proceedings so as to
Insurance
revise...
and Labor.
House Resolution 24 by Representatives Mallow of the 163rd and others, a resolution compensating Dominic Brian Lutke.
Appropriations.
House Resolution 25 by Representatives Mallow of the 163rd and others, a resolution compensating Mark Jason Jones and for other
Appropriations.
House Resolution 26 by Representatives Mallow of the 163rd, a resolution compensating Kenneth Eric Gardiner and for other purposes.
Appropriations.
House Resolution 29 by Representatives Hewley of the 136th and others, a resolution compensating Mr. J. Keith Bendre Robinson.
Appropriations.
House Resolution 144 by Representative Williams of the 145th, a resolution honoring the life and memory of Miss Katie Poff and dedicating an intersection in her memory.
Transportation.
House Resolution 183 by Representatives Knight of the 130th and others, a resolution urging the Congress of the United States to pass the Recovering America's Wildlife
Natural
Act.
Resources.
House Resolution 204 by Representatives Gillard of the 162nd and others, a resolution recognizing Judge Willie J. Levitt, Jr.
State institutions and properties.
House Resolution 248 by Representative Stevens of the 164th, a resolution designating the Savannah Logistics Technology Innovation Corridor as an official...
Economic development.
House Resolution 282 by Representatives Gunter of the 8th and others, a resolution honoring the life and memory of Miss Sydney Grace Jones and dedicating an intersection...
Transportation.
This completes the order, Mr. President.
That was a great job. Thank you. Once you catch your breath, will you please read the reports of the standing committees?
Mr. President, the Senate Committee on State and Local Governmental Operations has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 274, do pass. Senate Bill 275, do pass. Senate Bill 280, do pass. House Bill 603, do pass. House Bill 610, do pass. Senate Bill 282, do pass. Senate Bill 283, do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Anderson of the 24th. This completes the order, Mr. President.
All right, it's now time for our afternoon roll call. Are there any motions to excuse? Chair recognizes the senator from the 33rd.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good afternoon, y'all. I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the following senators from the 35th, 38th, and 56, and 52 for business outside the Capitol.
Without objection, the senators from the 35th, 38th, 56th, and 52nd are excused. The chair recognizes the senator from the 29th.
Mr. President, I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 27th for work inside the Capitol.
Without objection, the senator from the 27th is excused. Chair recognizes the senator from the 54th, the tall senator.
Yes, Mr. President, I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 52nd district.
Already been excused. Must have not trusted you getting the text. Are there any additional motions to excuse? The chair sees none. The secretary will call the roll. Senators, signify your presence by voting the A switch. The secretary will unlock the machine.
Happens more often than I thought, especially now with COVID.
Yeah, I think that's it. But I told her, I said, look, Emily, the young lady that handles it, I told her, I said, look, I'm 30 minutes away, and I'm the senior pastor. I got the flexibility.
You can write your own excuse.
Right.
But the other thing is, I mean, I say this not joking. You got to be able to, you got to be able to trust who you call in, right?
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. It's now time for a morning devotional, afternoon devotional. I keep messing that up. All senators, please take your seats, cease all audible conversations, and doorkeepers, please secure the chamber at this time. I'd like to recognize my good friend, the senator from the 28th, to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance and to introduce our familiar chaplain of the day.
Thank you, Mr. President. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now the Georgia flag. I pledge allegiance to the Georgia flag, to the principles for which it stands, wisdom, justice, and moderation. Colleagues, today gives me great joy to introduce our chaplain of the day, my good friend, Reverend Dr. George Dillard. The Reverend Doctor has been at Peachtree City Christian Church now for 27 years, and he's no stranger to this chamber. He's spoken here many times, been over to the house as chaplain of the day many times. been up to our United States House of Representatives, I believe 7 times, and even over on the U.S. Senate one time. And George and I go back to my first boss in politics was one of our former colleagues, well, y'all's former colleagues, Senator Mitch Seaball. They go to church together. But my relationship with George really grew when I worked for Congressman Lynn Westmoreland, and we had Congressman Westmoreland had George up to D.C. on several occasions, and I got to hang out with George up there and just get to know what a true man of God he is, and y'all have heard him preach before, and in fact, he's one of the few preachers who actually knows the Georgia Pledge, so he's certainly no stranger to this chamber. So with that, I give you the Reverend Dr. George Dillard.
Thank you, Senator. That title, that bugs me. I'm living proof that anybody can get higher education. So I wanted to share something with you today. I was thinking about this group, this body, and what you have to face on a daily basis. And it kind of reminded me of a time years ago. I was standing at the back door of the church, and it was 1991. I don't know how many of you are old enough to remember 1991 or if you were involved in church, but we were going through something, a little change in culture. And we were pretty progressive at the church. We had a band, and we sang a lot of praise courses, and people started raising hands. And the church had asked me to take the ministry so the church would grow, and that just made me. This story just makes me think that people don't always want what they think they want. And man, this guy came flying out of church one Sunday, and he said to me, "I want you to stop those people from raising their hands." I said, "Well, that's good, but I'm not going to do that." He said, "Why not?" I said, "Well, 2 reasons. Number one, it's not my job." I said, "But number 2, and most importantly, the Word of God says, I encourage holy people everywhere to lift their hands in prayer." And I said, "A song is nothing but a prayer put to music." And this is the part that I really want you to pay attention to. He looked me dead in the eye and said, "I don't care what the Bible says, I don't like it." I said, "Well, there you go." See, here's the thing that I think you have to remember in your role, in your responsibility. People don't have to like the truth. People don't even have to agree with the truth. People really don't have to embrace the truth. But you should wrestle with the truth. You should embrace the truth. You should stand on the truth. Because here's the reality. Jesus said it. When you know the truth, it will set you free. And that's what we're supposed to be about, isn't it? Liberty, freedom, and justice. And it all stands on the truth. Would you join me in a word of prayer? Father, we understand that we don't understand, that the depths of your wisdom are so great that we can't possibly completely wrap our minds around it. And so trust becomes what we rely on. And we rely on your wisdom and your truth. And so I pray for this body. I pray that you would bless the men and women who make it up, those who work with them and help them to do their task. Give them wisdom, give them discernment, give them patience and compassion and gentleness, but above all, let them know the truth and let it set us free. And we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, sir.
I love this. That's awesome. Senate will come back to order. Are there any unanimous consents? The chair sees none. The chair recognizes, let's move on to points of personal privilege. Does any senator wish to rise? Chair recognizes the senator from the 4th.
Mr. President, I'm glad, tickled to death to say that some people from Statesboro, Georgia, are watching us on the live stream today, and they're Miss Joyce Stubbs, who's the Executive Director of Bullitt County Alcohol and Drug Council in Statesboro, along with some Bullitt County youth. Our great Governor, Brian Kemp, has signed a proclamation declaring March the 9th as Substance Abuse Prevention Advocacy Day at the Capitol. The 2021 Substance Abuse Prevention Advocacy goal is to connect community members with their state and local policymakers, as well as inform and promote the best practices in delivery of substance abuse prevention services and advocacy. Today, I'm pleased to acknowledge that Bullitt County youth are joining us virtually. These youth are learning about how to advocate for things that are important to them. I want to thank them for their support. Thank you, Mr. Stubbs, for being with us today in Bullitt County Youth, and thank you, Mr. President. I yield the well.
Chair recognizes the Rules Chairman for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, yesterday was crossovers, a long day. I think we were here to what, 7:30 or 7 something, I can't remember, and the House was nearly 11:30. So it's a long day. But if you're not aware, if your bill crosses over, you have to go eventually, hopefully, after it gets out of committee there, to the Rules Committee. Now, the Rules Chair, Representative Chairman Smith, has a form you got to fill out. And with all due respect to him, he has a right to do that, but it is a ridiculous form. Now, all I need is for you to come by and say, hey, this is important to me, I'd like to have it, and I'll strongly consider that. I want to help all my friends. And even in the House members for the same thing. But since he has such an elaborate, extreme form that the House Rules Committee Chair has, I thought I'd come up with my form for them to fill out. If the Senator 7th would help me. This is my form for them to fill out.
Looks like your Waffle House bill.
That's my Waffle House bill, but this is the form that the House members will have to fill out to get a bill on the Senate floor. I mean, look. If the House Rules Committee Chair would be realistic and maybe have a paper to fill out, but he asks all sorts of questions. So let me give you a couple of questions that I ask. What is your favorite color and how does it affect this bill? Or what's your zodiac sign and how does it affect this bill? Real important questions that they ask. I even have one about the willow tree and how does it affect your bill? So we'll see, but for the House member to have a bill on the Senate floor, this is the list that they'll have to fill out. So just tell all your friends over in the House, if the House Rules Committee Chair would reduce the size of his form to fill out, so will I. Mr. President, I yield the well.
Thank you, Senator. Gentleman spoke with great passion. Chair recognizes the senator from the 33rd for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President, my fellow senators, colleagues, friends, and y'all, including the senator from the 39th. I'm here today because it's Women History Month, so just to give you a little detail on women history about Frances E.W. Harper.
She was a poet and orator. Called one of the most distinguished African-American women of the 18th century, poet and orator Frances Ellen Watkins Harper skillfully employed her literary genius to attack racial and gender inequality. Raised by her free aunt and uncle after being orphaned at the age of 3, Harper was afforded the rare opportunity to receive a well-rounded formal education. Extremely bright and gifted, Harper began writing poetry in her youth, and at the age of 21 published her first collection of poems, Forest Leaves. Harper moved to Wilberforce, Ohio in 1850, where she taught at Union Seminary. Harper found herself in exile from her home state of Maryland after the passage of fugitive slave laws, which allowed free blacks such as herself to be enslaved. This event sparked within Harper the ardent passion for the cause of abolition. Harper made literary history in 1859 when she published 2 offers, the first short story to be published by an African-American woman. On the lecture circuit, Harper gave impassioned speeches on the ills of racial and gender oppression, which won thousands over to their cause. In 1896, Harper co-founded the National Association of Colored Women with Ida B. Wells Barnett, Harriet Tubman, and several others, and that's your Woman History Moment. Mr. President, I yield the well.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 31st for a point of personal privilege.
Good afternoon, Senators. I just wanted to come before you with a heavy heart and just wanted to share the sad news of the passing of Sergeant Barry Henderson from the Polk County Sheriff's Department, who passed away last night. If you remember, a few weeks ago, I came and asked for you to pray over this gentleman, this community leader, this leader in law enforcement that so many of us respect in West Georgia, who is having complications with COVID. But I just ask that you pray for his family, you think about him and the community and law enforcement, his wife, and everybody who has worked with this man, respected this man, and this man who has served so many thousands of people in our community in the days to come. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senators ask for us to rise and offer a moment of silence.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 9th for the purpose of introducing the Doctor of the Day. I assume that's what you were doing.
Yes, you're correct. Thank you, Mr. President. Today I rise to introduce our Doctor of the Day. Dr. Priyanka Patel is board certified in both adult forensic psychiatry and completed her residency and fellowship at the St. Louis University's Department of Neurology and Psychiatry. She also received her master's in healthcare administration from West Kentucky University. She currently serves as the medical director for the Georgia Department of Human Services, with an emphasis on the divisions of Family and Children's Services and Aging Services. Prior to this role, she served as the medical director of the I Listen Empowerment Center, a mental health clinic in Snellville, and as staff psychiatrist for other facilities in Michigan and in Georgia. Let's please welcome our Doctor of the Day, Dr. Priyanka Patel. I yield the well.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes the senator from the 8th for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know that today is not International Women's Day, but in the interest of time and everyone else's time, I did not do this point of privilege yesterday. But just wanted to tell you the little story about my grandmother. I wouldn't be standing in the well of the state senate today without her influence. She was widowed in 1959 at the age of 36 with 4 children to raise, and she kept the farm going by herself. And when we talk about strong women, strong women don't bother me because I've grown up with strong women all my life. She was the first woman to be on the board of the Farmers Home Administration. And to all of the strong women out there, just want you to know how much we appreciate you and what you all mean to the families and to our communities. So anyway, thank you.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 10th for a point of personal privilege. Senator from the 18th, will you check on the rules, Chairman? He seems to be choking on something over there.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of this body. I rise today to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart, and that's local legislation. First, let me thank the senator from the 17th. Yesterday, we had a bill signing for Senate Bill 22. That was a local legislation that dealt with Henry County. But I also want to reflect on some of the other occasions where we've had local legislation that has been signed by everyone related to that particular city or county, and for some reason it just hasn't passed. I remember as chair of the DeKalb County delegation, the former senator from the 40th, Senator Fran Miller, would always say out of the 7 members from DeKalb County, he really had the deciding vote over the local bills that we passed. And if we knew in the delegation, those of us on the Democratic side, that if we had to get something passed, we had to go and negotiate with Senator Miller. I would hope that same standard applies today. I say that because I have another local bill that I've been asking the senator from the 24th about daily that deals with the city of Stonecrest, Senate Bill 21. It's been held up now for the last 2 years. Last year, we know we had COVID and the session was cut short. I reintroduced the bill again this year, and I reintroduced this bill at the urging of the city council. The supermajority has signed a resolution asking us to move forward. When this city was created over in the southeastern part of DeKalb 4 years ago, it was some mistakes made in the charter dealing with that hybrid form of government, and their meetings have become, unfortunately, dysfunctional. And the legislation 21 creates that strong city council, wheat mayor form of government, which would allow the city council to effectively manage the city. The senator from the 43rd, our GLBC chair, signed the legislation that represents part of Stonecrest. Our minority leader, the senator from the 55th, represents a part of Stonecrest that represents this city, and the 3 of us are respectfully requesting that Senate Bill 21 moves because there are some issues internally in this city that, unfortunately, without changes to their charter, they won't be able to deal with, and I certainly pray that those forces outside of the city council won't have to deal with them. And with that, Mr. President, I'll yield the well.
For what purpose does the senator from the 41st rise?
Mr. President, I rise to ask unanimous consent to be excused for business inside of the Capitol.
Yourself?
Yes.
Chair, without objection, the senator from the 41st is excused. For what purpose does the senator from the 9th rise?
I ask for unanimous consent to be excused for business inside the Capitol.
Without objection, the senator from the 9th is excused. All right, we'll move on. You have a consent. For what purpose does the senator from the 40th rise?
I, too, ask for unanimous consent to be excused for business inside the Capitol.
Without objection, the senator from the 40th is excused. All right, we're moving on. You've got a consent calendar of privileged resolutions before you. Does any senator wish to remove a resolution from the consent calendar? What purpose does the senator from the 42nd wish to be recognized?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Is it permitted for me to ask to remove 2 bills from the local consent calendar to be voted on separately?
This is not the local consent calendar.
Oh, sorry, I thought
This
that's
is
what
the
we were on.
consent calendar of privileged resolutions, if that clarifies anything for you. You have a consent calendar of privileged resolutions before you. Does any senator wish to remove a resolution from the consent calendar? Chair sees none. Is there objection or adoption of the resolutions on the consent calendar? The chair hears none. The resolutions on the consent calendar are adopted. Are there any motions to withdraw and commit? The chair sees none. You have a consent calendar of local bills before you. Mr. Secretary, are there any objections filed to any bills on the local consent calendar?
Mr. President, there are no objections filed.
Is there objection agreeing to the report of the... For what purpose does the minority leader rise?
Point of order.
State your point of order.
Senate Bill 282 and Senate Bill 283 are firing their Board of Elections and Registrations, and I'm just wondering if we can get an explanation on those two.
There was an objection filed on Senate Bills 280, or Senate Bill 282 and 283. And the Senate rules require that one of those people filing an objection must be a senator that is directly, whose district is directly affected. Since no senator whose district was directly affected signed the objection, it's not an appropriate objection.
Is there objection agreeing to the report of the Committee on State and Local Government, which is favorable to the passage of the bills on the local consent calendar? Chair hears none, and the report of the committee is agreed to. The questions on the passage of the bills on the local consent calendar. All those in favor will vote yea, opposed nay. Secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? Hallway clear? Hallways clear? Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bills on the local consent calendar, the yeas are 29, the nays are 18, and Senate Bills 280, 282, 283, House Bill 603, and House Bill 610 have passed. Senate Bills 274 and Senate Bills 275 have failed because they lacked the required 38 votes. What purpose does the senator from the 19th rise?
Mr. President, I ask that the Senate move to reconsider Senate Bill 274 and Senate Bill 275.
Are you serving notice or
Serving notice, yes, sir.
Serving notice for the next legislative day? The senator from the 19th has served notice that he's asked for reconsideration on the next legislative day for Senate Bills 274 and 275. The senator has that right. All right, we're now going to move on to the rules calendar. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption of House Bill 90? We are on the rules calendar.
House Bill 90 by Representative Williamson of the 115th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 3 of Chapter 12 of Title 51 of the OCGA, leading to damages for conversion of timber so as to provide that certain persons, firms, or corporations who are buyers of land for conversion of timber shall be exempt from certain liabilities, and for other purposes. The Committee of the Senate on Banking and Financial Institutions recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Brass of the 28th. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 18th to present House Bill 90.
Good afternoon, colleagues. Thank you, Mr. President, and happy day after crossover to all my colleagues. I bring to you House Bill 90, which comes to us after a unanimous vote in the House and also a unanimous vote from the Senate Banking Committee who reviewed this. You know, the Georgia forestry industry is a very significant part of our economy and a significant part of our agricultural output. In fact, Georgia is #1 in forestry for all the states in our country, and it's also forestry is our #1 export. But we have a problem dating back to a law that was passed in 1939, and that law relates to how the responsibility for liens on timber is treated once it is severed from the land. While back in 39, the forestry industry was vertically integrated with mills primarily purchasing timber directly from the forest owners, today it's very different in that the mills primarily purchase cut timber that comes to them as a commodity good at their mill gates. Just as for purchases of any other commodity goods or inventory goods, the UCC, the Uniform Commercial Code, provides purchasers of cut timber protections as a, quote, buyer in the ordinary course of business to purchase commodity logs free and clear from any security interest that might have attached. The purpose of the UCC protection is to facilitate transactions of commodity goods where the requirement to conduct a lien search on every commodity purchased, in this case timber or logs that would show up at a gate of a timber mill, would be extremely impractical and would encumber business transactions. Unfortunately, the 1939 statute in question is overly broad and denies otherwise qualified buyers in the ordinary course of business this much-needed protection to carry out the business. This is not something that's insignificant to the forestry industry. In fact, Georgia processes approximately 2 million loads of logs a year at the various mills across our state. And in fact, there's one coastal mill that receives and processes about 1,000 loads of logs a day. So let's take a look at the statute. What's being proposed simply provides that in section 51-12-51 that for anyone who buys or sells trees growing on the land of another, that the value of the trees, that they will be liable to the holder of the title for such trees for the value, provided that the recovery may not be more than the unpaid portion of the unsecured indebtedness, interest thereon, and reasonable attorney's fees. What's being added that you'll see at line 42 is that for anyone who is a buyer in the ordinary course of business, and that language ties back to the UCC, pursuant to Title 11 of the Uniform Commercial Code, including but not limited to section 11-9-320, shall have no liability under this code section. So again, what this simply does is clarify that the security interest, if there is one on property, is not going to have to be checked at the mill, but it is the timber harvester who cuts the trees and severs them from the land that would have that responsibility. which just makes sense, makes common sense, and it also makes sense with regard to how the forestry industry operates. This comes to you, as I said, unanimously from the House. It also comes to you with the support of the Georgia Forestry Association and also the Georgia Bankers Association. And with that, Mr. President, I'll be happy to answer any questions, or I'll yield the will.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 4th with a question.
Senator, you said harvester. Are you talking about the one that bought the timber, or are you talking about the one that cuts the timber?
Well, it can be either. Those can be the same. The harvester, you can have that. The person, that the timber broker, as it is often referred to, can be the person that harvests it or purchases it. But specifically, I think, Senator, to your answer to your question, it is the person that is the middleman, that is the purchaser of the timber from the landowner. That's where the responsibility falls.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Good question. Thank you.
You have no more questions.
Thank you, Mr. President. I encourage and ask for your yes vote on this, and I yield the will.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against House Bill 90? The chair sees none. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? You weren't the last one. You were next to last. Mr. Secretary, please close the machine on the passage of the bill. The yeas are 47, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption of House Bill 245?
House Bill 245 by Representative LaHood of the 175th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 35 of Title 43 of the OCGA, leading to podiatry practice so as to amend a provision relating to fingerprint and criminal background checks and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Health and Human Services recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Watson of the 1st. Thank you. Health and Human Services offers the following substitute to House Bill 254, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 43 of the OCGA relating to professions and businesses so as to amend a provision relating to fingerprint and criminal background checks for licensure of physicians, physician assistants, and others, to amend a provision relating to fingerprint and criminal background checks for the licensure of podiatrists and for other purposes. Senator Watson of the 1st and others offers the following Amendment 1 to amend the substitute to House Bill 245 by striking line 30 and inserting in lieu thereof the following: the board to perform a criminal background check. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 32nd to speak to the bill and Amendment number 1.
Thank you, Mr. President. Fellow senators, you're probably getting tired of hearing about compacts by now, but hang in there because there are probably more on the way. This one has to do with two different compacts. One is the Interstate Medical Licensure Compact, which we tried to fix a couple weeks ago, but it didn't quite make it across the hall. So that's being addressed in this bill by just striking or its representative, the board or its representative, which is what the FBI wanted with regards to the fingerprint background checks. And then there's the second part of the bill that deals with the podiatry board. Again, they were requested to change the word renewal to reinstatement as regards their license. So it seems like a very nitpicky thing, but it's very important that we get the FBI happy on this language so that our compacts can operate the way they're supposed to. I'd be happy to answer any questions or yield the well.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 28th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator, do you yield?
Yes.
Senator, you keep bringing all these bills about compacts and compactness, and me and the senator from the 7th are starting to get a little offended. Could you comment on that?
Well, I hope that you don't take any offense to any of these bills. Certainly no harm is intended.
Fair enough.
Chair recognizes the distinguished rules chairman, who looks well rested.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Yield.
Absolutely, for the distinguished rules chair.
I'm just one of your colleagues and glad to be here with you today. What did this affect? You said some compact. What was the name of that compact?
The podiatry compact?
What?
Podiatry. That's feet.
Podiatry. What does that deal with?
That deals with feet.
Feet. Well, some people would call this a bill that maybe has a toad hole in other issues. Is that right?
I'm sure that that's coming from your soul, Mr. Chair.
Good one. No more questions for you.
But with that, I'm going to put a nail in the coffin and yield the well. Thank you very much.
The senator has yielded the well. The rules chairman always seems to be in the middle of controversy amongst your colleagues. For what purpose does the senator, he waves. With that being said, does any other senator wish to speak for or against House Bill 245 or the amendment? The chair sees none. All right, first we're going to take up the adoption of amendment number 1 by the senator from the 32nd. Is there objection to adoption of the amendment? The chair hears none, and amendment number 1 is adopted. The question now is on the adoption of the committee substitute as amended. Is there objection to adoption of the committee substitute as amended? The chair hears none. The committee sub as amended is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none. The main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? We got one more in the hallway. For what purpose does the senator from the 20th rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your
Mr.
inquiry.
President. Wouldn't you be a real heel to vote no for this?
Gentleman probably knows of what he speaks.
I get
Have all senators voted their machines? Hallway looks clear. Mr. Secretary, will you please close the machine? On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 46 and nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption of House Bill 367?
House Bill 367 by Representative Parrish of the 158th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 13 of Title 16 of the OCGA relating to controlled substances so as to change certain provisions relating to Schedules 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 controlled substances and for other purposes. The Committee of the Senate on Public Safety recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Albers of the 56th. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 11th to present House Bill 367.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the annual drug update bill we do every day for dangerous drugs for the Drugs and Narcotic Agency. I'd appreciate your yea vote. I yield the well.
That is a true veteran. Any other senator wish to speak for or against House Bill 367? The chair sees none. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none. The main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 47, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Secretary, can you please read a resolution?
House Resolution 315 by Representative Burns of the 159th, a resolution calling a joint session of the House of Representatives and the Senate for the purpose of hearing a message from the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Be it resolved by the General Assembly that the Honorable Chief Justice of the Supreme Court is hereby invited to address a joint session of the House of Representatives and the Senate at 11 a.m. Tuesday, March 16, 2021, in the Hall of the House of Representatives. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Is there objection to the adoption of the resolution for a joint session for the purpose of hearing from the Chief Justice of our Supreme Court? The chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted.
I've written it in here if you'd rather use that, but that's the misschedule.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes the majority leader for a motion.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate stand adjourned until 10 o'clock on Wednesday, 10 March 2021.
Mr. Secretary, please read your announcements.
The Rules Committee will meet upon adjournment in room 450. Health and Human Services will meet at 3 p.m. in room 450. Public Safety will meet at 3 p.m. in mezzanine 1. Regulated Industries and Utilities will meet at 4:15 in room 450. Appropriations Judicial Subcommittee will meet at 4:30 in mezzanine 1. Transportation will meet at 5:30 in room 450. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Any senator wish to rise to make an announcement? The chair sees none. All right, the majority leader has moved that the Senate stand adjourned until Wednesday, March 10th, 2021 at 10 a.m. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Senate stands adjourned.